If your contour looks like you fell in mud, if your concealer is creasing, if your concealer is looking cakey, keep on watching. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, what's up? Hello, thank you for clicking on this video. So today I'm going to show you guys how I highlight and contour. I don't know what to do with my hair, but that's not what we're here for. But yo, let's get into the skin. Besides this hormonal breakout, like, she's glowing. Okay, so first things first, I'll eat your brain. Whenever you highlight and contour or apply makeup or whatever, you should be moisturizing your skin. You want to create a nice clean canvas for your makeup products to go on top of that. Right now I'm using the Fenty Skin Trio, but I'm always moisturizing my skin before makeup, or just moisturizing my skin in general, because your skin will reflect how well your makeup is. So if you feel like it's not as seamless and it's cakey, or it's really dry, and whatever the case may be, you want to make sure that the products you apply underneath your makeup are just as good. And like I said, I'm using the Fenty Skin, so I already used that total cleanser. I use her fat water toner and her Hydra Visa moisturizer, so that's what I use. If you guys want to check out my first impressions on Fenty Skin and my initial thoughts and opinions on it, I'll leave that video down below. It's on my channel. I filmed that not too long ago, but I'm also going to be filming my final review after using Fenty Skin for 30 days and give my full thoughts on what's the tea. Like, does Fenty Skin really work? How did it improve my skin? Did it not improve my skin? So after you prepared your skin for makeup, you're going to start applying makeup. I'm going to be using the Tarte Timeless Smoothing Primer. I really like this primer because it's thick. It helps fill in the pores and mattify the skin. I have oily skin and large pores. This would help to create that flawless base that we want. I personally think primer is important because honestly, when I don't use primer, my makeup looks crazy. It helps with the longevity of your makeup. It helps the appearance of your makeup to make it look more seamless and buttery. There's many different primers out there. Just try to get a primer that focuses on your skin concerns. Okay, so now that we got the primer laid, I like to set my primers with a powder. Now, setting my primers is not only going to reinforce that primer that we put down to help it stay in place, but it's also going to help minimize oiliness and prevent us from looking like a grease ball throughout the day. I'm just an oily person, so I'm gonna get oily regardless, but these are just things that I like to do to help minimize that shine. Just a light layer. And if you're not familiar with my other videos, I do this in my other videos as well. This is the AIRSPUN Translucent Extra Coverage Powder. They have different ones, but this is the only one I'm familiar with, and honestly, I've had this powder for years. It's a great powder. It does smell a little bit grandma-y, but it's a cheap powder that I like to just throw underneath my makeup. Also, I'm using a damp beauty blender, not soaking wet, not dry. Like, there's no water squeezing. I lied, there's water squeezing out a little bit. I had to squeeze hard just now to do that. And what I like about putting powders on my face before makeup is that it helps fill in the pores too. And this is not gonna make your foundation cakey. It's not gonna make it look crusty. If you put a light layer and apply it like how, you know, I'm telling you to do it, there should be no issues. Honestly, you wouldn't even know you had powder on your face because it's just gonna apply just as well. Now for foundation, I love the Maybelline Superstay. I'm in the shade 330 Toffee Caramel, and this is a great shade for me. You wanna make sure that your foundation is suitable for you. I know a couple makeup artists who actually like to use a darker foundation. It gives them a nice color to the skin. I completely understand that because I think originally I'm a 360 in Fenty, but I just like how 370 looked better on me. I don't know, it just adds like a boost of radiance to my skin. So if you want to go a shade up, by all means, just don't OD, please. Please don't OD. Some people like to match their foundation to their body. I am like 15 different colors, so my people of color out there, y'all can understand the struggle, because you know the melanin can't make up its mind. Some people match their foundation to their body, some people match their foundation to their face. I think I match my foundation to my face, but it's not too off from my body, so honestly I could get away with it. So I just like to pump it on my face, honestly. Girl,
are you dumb?
I think she's dumb. I think she's dumb. I think she's dumb.
Are you,
like, medically speaking, are you like
I'm not trying to be mean. Like, are you dumb?
Why you want to do this the day I'm filming up? Hold on. What? I like how I always do this, but the day that I'm telling you guys, wow, oh my god, I made it so much worse. I'm just lost for words. I swear to y'all, I apply my foundation like this all the time and that never happened to me. I'm usually pretty careful. I don't know what's going on here. My foundation probably dried down a little bit. Great. So don't be like me. Obviously, you know, you don't want to get your foundation on your fit. You know what? Sometimes I be knowing better, but I'll just be like, So I'm just getting a foundation brush. No, this is a concealer brush. This is a Morphe M167. I like to lay down my foundation with a brush first because it's just going to help sure that we get the most coverage, that we get a nice even application. I like to get my brush and I just like to clean up the tops of my eyebrows during this part. I'm not a huge fan of doing it with concealer because I just feel like with concealer, if you're using a shade that's light, that's how you're gonna get the halo brows. That's how the halo brows form. So I just like to use my foundation shade. You can use concealer to clean the tops of your eyebrows, but just make sure you blend them out, please. Do all of us a favor. So I'm gonna quickly, because you know, when I change my shirt, probably dry down a little bit. Yo, I can't believe that happened. Actually, no, I fully believe that happened because that's kind of just my life. So this is a Juno & Co sponge. I believe this is like the velvet sponge. I'll leave the exact sponge down below, but I'm just pressing this into the skin. I'm not really swiping. Bring it down to your neck. You don't want to be able to tell like you're wearing foundation. Like we know we're wearing makeup, but like you don't want it to be obvious. Like you don't want your neck and your face to be two different colors. I'll take this into the hairline a little bit just to make sure. Some people get their ears. I don't really get my ears. I'll probably just like brush over it a little. I don't like to put foundation underneath my eyes because it's like you're gonna put concealer, so why do you want that extra makeup there? You don't want to put too much product underneath your eyes because your eyes are delicate, so it's gonna get cakey if you put foundation then concealer then another concealer then powder. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just too much product. So I personally do not put foundation underneath my eyes. I might like, if I do, it's like very little and like I just happen to run over that area, but I don't like target my under eye area. So as you can see, it's pretty much blended. I'm gonna take this Real Techniques Deluxe Crease Brush. Sometimes my foundation wouldn't like blend in the corner of my nose, and if you guys don't blend out this little corner between the corner of your nose and your face, it's gonna be like a little gunky. Like you want to make sure that that foundation isn't in those nooks and crannies. I'm just gonna go over the brows just in case I missed anything. I'm just gonna run over my eye real quick, you know, just to balance everything out. Maybelline Superstay is a great full coverage foundation. It covered up that dark spot that I had on my face. If you can tell, I mean you should be able to tell, that dark spot is not there. It's just a great full coverage foundation. I really like this foundation. So if you feel like your foundation did not cover all of your dark spots, you can either go in with the foundation one more time to just, you know, blend those out, or you can use a concealer to help balance out and just target those areas. Sometimes I do that. Since I like the coverage, I'm just gonna stick with my foundation for today. So now I'm gonna go on to cream contouring, or cream bronzing if you will. So contour and bronzing is two different things. Contours add shadows to your face. They chisel the face more. They add more depth. We naturally have contours in our face, but personally I like to bronze with a little bit of contouring. I like to use my ColourPop No Filter sticks. This is in the shade Deep Dark 190. So this is a foundation stick. This foundation stick is amazing, very creamy. It's just so good. Like I don't know if I'll ever switch from this one. I like to contour slash bronze first. I just feel like I would rather make a mess and clean it up rather than like cleaning up then make a mess and probably go in again and clean up. If I contour, I'm gonna go from the tops of my ears down and I'm gonna stop around where my tail of my brow is. You don't want to bring it too far down. You just want to make sure that your contour is not too low. You're going to do the opposite of what you want to do. You want to create cheekbones. You want to create an illusion. So I kind of take it from like the tops of my ears down, as you can see. And then I stop right there at the tail of my brow. And then for my forehead, I'll just do like a rainbow and then just probably like get the temples a little bit. And then I'll go for my chin. Recently I haven't been doing the whole thing. I've just been doing like underneath my chin right there. Now for my nose contour, I'm gonna use a Morphe E62. This is a good nose contouring brush because of the angle, and it's a synthetic brush, so it's great for liquids and creams. I'm gonna tap my brush on that foundation stick, tap some on the back of my hand because I don't want too much product, and then I'm gonna go in. So I'm gonna cut underneath my nose, just a line from there to there, right? Lay that down. Pick up some more product if you need it off the back of your hand or from the stick. And I like to take it from the tops of my brow down. So this is gonna create a more natural contour because that's how the shadows naturally are on the nose if you really pay attention to the shadows on your face. Just gonna kind of take it from the top of my brow, like pretty much in that eye area, bring it straight down. You don't want these two lines to be too wide because you're gonna make your nose bigger. Just a disclaimer, you do not have to contour your nose. I contour my nose because it just balances everything out. There's nothing wrong with my nose. I love my nose. Love your big nose, love your black nose. And I like how it creates like that shadow right here in this socket, whatever this is called. Adding that contour underneath the nose kind of just like, if you know what I mean, and just kind of create a little pinch. This is completely optional. Some people like to put it underneath their lip. I don't do that. I don't know why I'm doing that today, but it's supposed to add like a shadow underneath your lip to make it a little bigger. I don't really be seeing a difference, honestly. It's gonna add that depth to our face. It's gonna add more structures, those cheekbones that you want, that chiseled effect, that skinnier facial structure. Bronzing is gonna add warmth to the skin. It's gonna add that sun-kissed, nice, fake looking tan, because as we applied foundation, you can tell our skin is one tone. So after we applied that foundation, we want to bring all of those shadows, we want to bring all of that highlighted features, that warmth back to the skin. So I'm going to leave this on my face, and in the meantime I'm going to go into concealer. I like to use two concealers. I'm going to be using the UOMA Beauty Stay Woke Brightening Concealer and also the Tarte Shape Tape. So I really like these two concealers. This became a favorite. I tried this not too long ago. This is the UOMA Beauty Stay Woke Brightening Concealer. I'm gonna apply this first. I like to create a line alongside of where we place that foundation stick, and this is a great doe foot applicator. It's big enough to, you know, quickly cover what I need to be covered. I didn't even dip back in. As you can tell, that was just one dunk. So I'm just going to take the concealer and apply it underneath my eyes. I'm not going to take it too high in the inner corners because we're going to put another concealer there. So I'm going to go and dunk back in, apply some concealer to these areas. Sometimes it's a little dark above the lip, so I like to add concealer there. I don't know what this does, but it looked good. I remember a time I didn't apply this on the corners of my mouth. And when I actually did, I was just like, oh. I don't like to put a lot of concealer on my forehead because I have a large forehead. So why would I want to bring forth my forehead? Bring forth. Ugh. I would never want to make my forehead bigger. So I just went down the bridge of my nose like that. Highlighting bring forth features. It's going to brighten. It's going to balance out the warmth that we put on our face just now. After that, I'm going to take my Tarte concealer. Don't worry about the contour stick that we put on too much. It's not going to dry down that fast. And honestly, if it does, it's just going to kind of help us if it does anyhow. I'm going to use my Tarte Tape Shape in the shade Tan. Now, I like to add a brighter concealer underneath my eye, but just in the corners and in the middle of wherever I place that original concealer. So just in the centers. You don't want to add too much because it's gonna look cakey. That first concealer was to basically help camouflage and even out the base even more. It was a more natural concealer. I could have wore that concealer just like that, but since I want a brighter concealer, that's what I use that concealer for. So let's not forget about this contour. I'm gonna use my Real Techniques 202. This is an Instapop face brush. I like to use this brush because it's dense. It has an angle to it. Just a really nice, affordable brush. I use this in all my videos. If you haven't checked any, definitely check them down below. I just wanted to give you guys like a detailed video of how I highlight and contour. So as you can tell, I'm just patting it, not swiping it. Look how that melts into the skin. You don't want it to be like bronzer, foundation, highlight. So don't worry, you want to blend everything in. And we're going to go over with a sponge too. So that's also going to help melt everything into place. And I like to do this when you're blending out your cheek contour. I like to basically focus the product at the bottom of the brush. So I would blend it with the edge of that brush, right? I would warm it up and then utilize the whole body of the brush. So everything is going to be patting. You don't want to swipe, you don't want to swirl, press that into the skin. And you want to keep everything up. You don't want to bring it down. I'm going to keep everything fairly up. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So for the chin, I just like to kind of like flick it out. It's gonna help with that double chin issue. Less is more, so just make sure you're not putting too much product and you just want to build that product. So we're gonna stop with that for now. I just want to blend out my concealer. So I like to use these two sponges. This is a sponge that I was gifted from Nordstrom Rack. I wish I could find these sponges again. They last so long too. Like, it hasn't been punctured. It's been so good to me. I love this sponge. And this is another Juno & Co sponge. So I'm just gonna blend that out. Still using a damp sponge. I'm leaving my under eyes last. If you haven't heard me say this before, the reason why we left our concealer there and didn't immediately blend it is because this is going to create more coverage and it's just going to stay intact, but it's still going to blend, don't worry. Okay, so that looks great. I'm going to do my forehead now. I'm gonna go back with my Juno & Co sponge with that foundation on. Just gonna press over the edges just to make sure it's not harsh. Sorry guys, I forgot to blend out that nose contour. We pretty much just laid it down. If you wanted to blend it out during that time, you definitely could have. All right, blending out this nose contour. And if your concealer is not moving like whatsoever and you're blending it and it's not moving, spray some facial spray and it's gonna help out. So I'm using the pointy edge of this Juno & Co sponge, and I actually might need some facial spray. Yep, actually I'm just gonna spray it on my face. You don't want it too wet because it's just going to be ugly. So I'm just going to blend this out. I like to go back and forth with each side of my eye. I like to blend the concealer bottom up because you want that concealer to have a nice gradient effect. The inner corner of the highlight, you want that to stay there. So you want to touch that last. You don't want it to mix too much in with that original concealer because then it's just not going to be as brightening. So I'm just taking that concealer, and it's nice because they have this nice shape. Taking that there alongside of the contour. And when I get to the end, I just like to bring up the concealer like so. Especially if you're wearing eyeshadow, it's great to clean up your eyeshadows. So when I get to like my brow area, that's pretty much where I would stop because you don't want to bring it too far because then that's going to widen your face. Unless you have a really narrow face and you want to do that. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. It's also gonna help like give that like cat eye illusion. Again, on the sides of my nose, like I said, look up, blend it, blend it. So this is how the base is looking so far. Now I'm gonna go back in with my foundation sponge and I'm just gonna help blend out that contour. So the excess foundation on the sponge would kind of help blend the contour out. And my sponge is still damp. What I like about this sponge is that I feel like it doesn't absorb that much liquids. It's made of microfiber technology. Now we're gonna set our under eyes. You don't want it to crease, so you want to be kind of swift with this. Before applying my powders, I just want to make sure that the concealer is not creasing. Go in with a sponge or a small brush. This is a Fenty banana powder. Should be nothing new to you if you're here. Dip it, get a nice even amount of powder, and then I'm just going to go in with your hand just to make sure it's, you know, covered, and then go in. You're gonna press that powder in, and then you'll go in with your excess. Since it's not that much, I'm just gonna put that on my chin, around my mouth. I don't care too much to bake around my mouth. I'll just press it in. Sometimes I'll leave it on my chin and my cupid's bow. Gonna pick up that powder, make sure it's not too much on the sponge, and you're gonna press that underneath that eye. Now when you're pressing it underneath your eye, I like to take the powder down on the sides of my nose because then again, that's gonna help define that contour. It's gonna help seal in that concealer. It's just gonna make the face look really snatched. So I'm just gonna take it around my tail of my brow in this area, that region right there. Then I'm gonna get the forehead. Using the tip of that sponge, I'm just gonna go right down there. The more precise, the better. I should have got a fine brush. You know, you can also use a really small brush to just go down the bridge of the nose as well. Sometimes I'll do that. Now for bronzing, I love bronzer. I love two bronzers. This is the HOOLA Caramel Bronzer, and then I have the Fenty Beauty Caramel Cutie Bronzer. Wow, I almost forgot one step, which is pretty important. So basically, I like to use my Fenty Beauty Matchstick in the shade Truffle, and I like to add a little bit of depth. I recently started doing this just because I felt like when I bronze, it adds that warmth, and then when I put contour on top of that bronzer, it just gives warmth, but it also gives structure at the same time. I'm just gonna put a little bit of this. I'm not gonna put it on my nose or anything. Put a little bit down here. With that same Real Technique brush, I'm just gonna blend it out the same exact way. So I don't know if you guys could tell, this adds more of a cool shadow. I hope this looks good because I know I applied some powder. Can you guys tell like what that did? I love doing this. I'm just gonna quickly get that. Now for bronzer, I'm gonna take my HOOLA Caramel Benefit Bronzer, and this is a Real Techniques blush brush, also a Real Techniques 400. So I'm just gonna swirl that product in. This is a bronzer, this is not a contour. So this is a more fluffy brush. If you use a more dense brush, it would probably give you more of a contour effect. But since I like bronzing, I'm just going to pick up the product on this fluffy brush, and I'm just going to press that. You could swirl if you want to, but I'm gonna press this over those areas that we bronze / contour, and then this is where I like to swirl. This is really where it's gonna give that sun-kissed glow. Then I'll just touch a little bit of the temples, taking that excess powder underneath the jaw. So taking this Juno & Co sponge with this flat top, pat off that excess and cut right underneath where we contoured from the ear. You want to make sure it's as even as possible. Sometimes I have to pull my ear just to make sure. Now that the concealer baked for a minute, we're gonna take our Sephora Micro Smooth powder in the shade Tan, Real Techniques powder brush. I'm just gonna pick up that powder and I'm just gonna dust away that bake. We're gonna do this because we don't want baking powder to leave a residue. You don't want it to be stark white. So this is just gonna help deposit color back into the skin and help blend out everything. I don't do this underneath my eyes unless I necessarily need to and it's looking too bright, but I just use this for the rest of my face. Then I'm just gonna pick it up, touch the neck. Every liquid requires a powder. So I'm using this SHEIN tapered highlight brush. So I'm just gonna knock off this powder underneath my eye. So I guess you could say I'm sweeping that powder off. Sweeping and also pushing that powder into the skin. And you know, since we bronze and contour that nose, we're gonna do the same thing with powder. Just gonna take the same exact brush, go right underneath. Taking that product, I'm just gonna go, not taking too much, just go straight down. I'm just going to take another Real Techniques setting brush just to make sure this is blended out. And then I like to cut right underneath my nose because we did put that contour there. So we're going to bake the sides of the nose as well. One more time. I'm not going to use too much powder, but I just want to make sure that, you know, that nose contour gets love. Take that powder, brush off the bake underneath the contour, and I'll just kind of go in circular motions to make sure it's blended. I'll go over it. Just go over everything, honestly. Sometimes when I do that, I do miss out on some of the contour, so I'd probably go back in with the leftover and just carefully apply some more. Now we can knock off this powder, and then I'll take the leftover and put it on my eye. So I'm gonna go in with my damp sponge. If your sponge isn't damp anymore, you could just always, you know, run it with water, but then dry it a bit. Now for blush. Ooh. Now I'm going to spray down the face with my Mario Badescu facial mist. So take your sponge, and while your skin is still damp from that spray, run over everything. Your contour, your blush. So I'm going to finish off the face and I'll be right back. So I'm back. I just applied some mascara and some Fenty Gloss Bomb. So this is basically how I highlight and contour my skin. I didn't add any highlight because I just really wanted the highlight and the contour to actually be the star of this video. This is typically how I highlight and bronze my skin in all my videos. Whenever I'm doing like a full face of makeup, this is how I would apply my product. Let me know if I helped you guys out, if any of my tips were actually helpful. I'll leave all the brushes and sponges that I use down below. The face looks really good. I mean, while you're here, check out another video. I really appreciate each and every one of you. If I could get this channel to 100 subscribers soon, that would be amazing. My birthday is coming up, so I mean, if y'all want to make that my birthday gift, it's cool too. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch y'all in the next one.